Hello all, my name is Catherine, I'm a Sydney makeup artist, and today I'll be showing you an in-depth tutorial on this look that I did here on my model Rebecca today. I have loads of tips and tricks in this video. It's a voiceover because I was very focused on the tutorial, but let's get started. I started off with the Juvia's Place Brow Powder Palette. I used the second darkest shade. She does have pretty dark brows and they are tattooed, so there really isn't much infilling to do. I just ran the brow powder just briefly through her brows. And then I went in and carved her brows with the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. I'll leave the shade names of everything in the description. But with that same concealer, I also used that as an eyeshadow base and just chucked that all over her eyes and set it with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Translucent Loose Setting Powder. To start the eyeshadow, I went in with the Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette. It's the warm shade one, and I went in with the medium deep shade just on the outer corners. I like to do this look on her where it's more of like a Charlie XCX inspired pulled out wing sort of vibe. So I just started with that general shape. It's really just a rough sketch of the eye first. With the second and third lighter shades of the palette, I went in and set that into the inner corner and mid third of her eye. And then with the lighter shade, I just went in really close to the eyelash line just in the inner corner, just to really brighten that up. I'll then go in with the smaller detailed brush here and I'll start mapping out that wing liner shape. I'm just doing it very lightly and then going in with a bigger fluffier brush and blending that all out. I'll always go in with more eyeshadow after I've done the face makeup. This is because people usually tend to have a lighter face than body, especially if you wear sunscreen. So I'm matching the eyeshadow to her face colour, but later the foundation might be a touch darker to match to her neck and such. I'm now curling the eyelashes and putting on the MCoBeauty XtendLash mascara. I'm not 100% sold on this mascara yet. I feel like it's a bit clumpy for me, in my opinion. I know a lot of makeup artists do love this mascara because it is a tubing mascara. But then I go in with a strip lash with the night look, so we're going a bit dramatic. And the strip lash doesn't fit her eye, so I have to cut off quite a bit at the end. But once I've cut off a bit, I'll just test to see that it fits. And it does, so I'll start to prep the eyelash with glue. I'm always using this lash glue technique because I feel like it still holds the integrity of the eyelash as well and also has your lashes stay on all night long. So I'm painting on with a disposable eyeliner wand, Duo latex free lash glue. Latex free is important and a disposable one's important unless it's your own product. Obviously use the brush that it comes with, but I find that when I use an eyeliner brush itself, it just ruins the whole brush. It never goes back to normal after you've washed it. And then on the physical eyelash, I'm painting on Duo latex lash glue. Latex is important. You're getting the best of both worlds of both products. The latex free is really good for longevity and grip, but it's a fucking bitch to remove. And the latex is really easy to remove, but it doesn't have as long lasting power, especially if you're a sweaty gal. So you're getting the best of both worlds. You have the strength of the latex free, but you have the removal process, the easy removal process of the latex free. I can honestly dance all night, sweat the night away in these eyelashes, but still able to have them removed at the end of the night and not rip out 5 eyelashes. And then for skin prep, I go in with my favourite serum. Even though it's affordable, it's still my favourite. It's the QV Ego Serum. I find that it's the best for all skin types. Sensitive skin, dry skin, oily skin. It works for everyone. And I paint that all over the face. And then I go in with the Australis Illuminating Liquid. It gives me the vibes of the Kevin Aquan Glass Glow face. It has no glitter in it at all. It literally just looks like you have glass skin. It looks like sweat, honestly. I love using this on top or underneath foundation. I'm using it underneath here today. I wouldn't recommend using it over powder because I've tried before and it just doesn't go well. Now for foundation, I'm just colour matching Rebecca here. That was obviously a little bit too light. I'm just testing it all out on her. But I'm using the Kryolan TV paint stick with the silicone mixing medium. I've only heard ever good things about this foundation, especially from my clients. It feels so light on the skin and they all agree as well. It feels like every time I put it on, I'm like, oh, does this feel okay? Is this all good? And they all say that it feels like I'm putting nothing on their skin because you only need such a little amount of foundation with this. It goes such a long way and it's so beautiful. You can see here that shine that it gives. It's so amazing. And I've just colour matched her here and I'm just blending that all over her face, trying to avoid right under her eyes. But once I got the colour match, I blended it all over her face with the Jessup foundation brush, and I make sure to blend it down her neck. I usually would go over someone's ears just to make sure that it's all one colour. Usually sometimes people's ears can be quite red, but her ears are quite sensitive, so I did avoid the ears. But just going in all the crevices, like towards the back of the neck, just making sure that it's all blended seamlessly. Now I'm going in with cream bronzer, and the cream bronzer that I'm using is the Made by Mitchell Curve Case in the shade medium. I'm using the medium bronzer shade in the palette. I'm popping this on all the high points of her face. I'm putting it on her cheeks, a bit on her forehead, and a bit on her jawline as well. And for blush, I used the Made by Mitchell Curve Case, which you can see there, in the shade Light. And she requested a coral shade, so I mixed 3 shades. I mixed the darkest and then the pinky and the corally shade together to get the desired colour. And she really liked this shade. It looks so good on her. It just complements her skin tone so nicely. I'm working in really light layers, so you won't be able to see it very intensely. I just start with light layers and later we will be putting on powder. My favourite step has to be putting concealer on after bronzer and blush. It just looks so beautiful, blends into the skin so nicely. It's such a good trick just to make sure that you don't overdo your blush essentially, and you're just using a very limited amount of concealer, so you're very conservative about your application. And I'm using the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. Again, I'll leave the shade names down below in the description, but I'm just using a Jessup concealer brush and painting that under the eye. Even if you're using the Tarte Shape Tape for personal use, I wouldn't use the doe foot straight on the skin. I would still use a brush just because it's a very thick coverage concealer and I do use it sparingly. And then with a Jessup fluffy eyeshadow brush, I blend out the under eye. I feel like brushes are superior to sponges. I think that the brushes are able to manipulate the product a lot better, get into all the grooves of the face, whereas a sponge I feel like just leaves a layer on top and doesn't really get into those creases, whereas the brush is really able to wriggle into those fine lines. And then I'm just doing the same for the other under eye, just using the Jessup concealer brush with a Tarte Shape Tape and blending it out with that same Jessup fluffy eyeshadow brush for a seamless blend. To brighten the centre of the face, I put that concealer on her chin, the sides of her mouth, and in the middle of her forehead, just to brighten the centre of her face, and blend it out with that same brush. To mimic those same techniques I just used previously with the creams, I'm doing the same with the powders. So before setting the face and under eyes, I'm going in with a powder bronzer. I'm using the Physicians Formula powder bronzer in deep bronze. With this technique, I'm able to put on the powder bronzer and blush and then later set that all into place and marry all the products all together. This is my favourite colour for people who fake tan. It's just such a beautiful shadow slash bronze shade. It's like very neutral, even leans a little cool tone, but in the best way. It's just such a beautiful colour. For blush, I'm going in with the Blend Bunny Powder Blush palette. It's such a beautiful palette. I feel like it's one of the best on the market. And I'm using a coral slash peach mixed with a yellow blush shade. It sounds a bit intimidating, but it makes such a beautiful peachy colour, and Scott Barnes actually mentioned that technique. There's an iconic scene in Made in Manhattan where JLo, the star, gets glammed and she has all this makeup on and she has this beautiful peachy blush on, and I was always obsessed with that blush. And Scott Barnes, the makeup artist, actually said that he used a peach and a yellow blush mixed together to make that peachy shade. And ever since I heard that, I was like, no fucking way, using that. To set the under eye, I go in with a loose setting powder, just a very light layer. I'm using the Anastasia Beverly Hills translucent powder. It's such a beautiful blurring powder. It looks so amazing on her. And I use this just as a light layer before going in with the Velour powder puff. Sometimes when you go in with the powder puff directly on the skin to wet concealer, it can cling to the wet areas. So I set it first just so that it's all smooth, and then go in with the powder puff just for a blurred finish. And with that same powder, the Anastasia Beverly Hills translucent powder, I'm just setting the whole face. I was using a small brush at the start and then I just switched over to a large powder brush. And I just set the whole face with that translucent powder. You can see here that it's just so beautifully blurring. It looks so good on her. It looks good on everyone, but for some reason today the skin was skinning. I'm now going with nose contour. I'm using the Hoola bronzer, just the original shade, and I'm just swooping it over on the sides of her nose. I mentioned to her that she has this like, every time I do her nose contour, she has this little bump on the side of her nose, and when you go over with bronzer, it like deepens the bump and it like emphasizes it. And she was like, I literally thought no one knew about that. And I was like, oh no, I'm just like letting you know that sometimes when I do it, it just like looks darker. But I go over it with powder later just to settle those lines. I just go in with a disposable triangle sponge. I love these just because of the straight edge. It really, really helps with the nose contour. This is just my favorite technique, just putting on a bit of contour and then chucking on some powder and just really cleaning up those lines. I'm working on the under eyes now. I'm using the Makeup Forever eye and lip pencil in Limitless Brown. When I was applying this, I realized how warm it was under her eyes. It honestly looked a bit red. It was so warm. And so to combat that, I went in with the Makeup Forever lip and eye pencil in Endless Cacao. This is much more of a cooler tone. So I just went over the top of that just to try and neutralize that warmth. And then after that, I went in with a really small Jessup eye smudging brush, just with that same Makeup by Mario Master Mattes palette. I went in with a medium tone shade, just really close to her under eye, nothing too dark. She does look good with a little bit of a smoke out underneath the eye, but nothing too dramatic. Like I mentioned before, I like to add more eyeshadow after I've done the face just to re-intensify the colour, because sometimes you'll do the eyeshadow, you'll be like, oh, that looks pretty dark, let's go, and that's all done, let's go to the face. And then you'll do the face and you look back on the eyeshadow and you're like, okay, you just left. And so I'm just re-intensifying that colour just with the same shades, just a medium brown tone. Just I used the same shade below the eye, I'm just using the same on the outer corner. Just with a big fluffy brush, I'm just setting her eyelids with the Anastasia Beverly Hills translucent powder, the same one that I've used all over her face. This is really good for people that have oily eyelids. I find that lots of my clients have oily eyelids. It also just makes sure that the eyeshadow just doesn't move if you've got a longer line. And then just with that same brush, I'm just dusting off that powder bake. And then I'm just going in lightly with a clear brow gel. This is an MCoBeauty Brow and Eye Mascara. I really enjoy this product. It's not too crunchy. It's like quite a lightweight product. And then just as a hydrating mist, I'm using the Acino face toner. It's actually a skincare face toner, but it has the same ingredients as all hydrating face sprays. And I'm just using that just to blend in all those powders. I then went in with a fixing spray and I used the Ben Nye Final Seal. She looks like she's breastfeeding packed. I just let her know that it might have a very strong smell, as majority of the product is alcohol, so it does smell very strong, but she just said it smelled like Listerine, so that's fine. Before I'm done, I'll give my client the mirror just to see if she wants to add anything. I haven't done the lips yet, but she said it's the best makeup she's ever had. I'll also just still want feedback, because there's always something I feel like that they want to add. If there's anything that they like to do on themselves, like a bright inner corner or more highlighter, or I didn't think she needed any highlighter and she agreed, but I went in with some concerns about the eyeliner and the warmth, and if it's okay if I can go in with a black eyeliner, and she agreed. It was a bit too warm, so we did eventually go in later with a black eyeliner on her waterline. Just to prep her lips, she's just going in with the Q-tip. She's just taking over because she is the makeup artist. And she's just removing the foundation off her lips just with a Q-tip and micellar water. And then I'm going in with the Makeup Forever lip and eye pencil. I don't know what colour it is. It's the one that everyone uses. I think it's like Wherever Walnut. I'll leave it in the description below as well. And this is just such a perfect shade, again, for my people that fake tan, my medium shade girlies. It's such a beautiful colour and it suits her lips beautifully. It's like got a nice warmth but like neutralness to it. For my pale girlies, oh my gosh, this would look like straight orange on you, sorry. But then I went in with a Rimmel lipstick in the shade Perfect Nude. This is such a pretty colour on her. I went in with a lip brush and it's just not going slay. So then I went in with a disposable wand. And again, this is just such a beautiful shade on her. It's like literally her perfect colour and it's literally called Perfect Nude. It's like a mauvey bluey. She's got like bluey lips. Yeah, it's just such a pretty colour on her. And then I went with the Be Perfect black eyeliner. This is a gel pot and I just used a disposable eyeliner brush, brushed it in her waterline just to get rid of that warmth. I didn't add too much, I only added just a slight amount just because it's a nighttime look. She doesn't usually do this. And she just had a look. Didn't have a look that much, I guess. But it looked really, really good. and then I just felt like the eyelashes needed a little bump, so I just did a quick 1-2 with the eyelash curler just to make those, you know, make the natural eyelashes and the falsies sort of stick together, but also to lift up the eyelashes. And you can see here she's like, wow, that made such a difference. Just those small things honestly make such a big difference. And that's the final soft glam look. Rebecca looks so beautiful, and the look just turned out amazingly, basically, essentially how I wanted it to look. And yeah, I'm a Sydney Pro makeup artist. I am available for booking, so please look at my Instagram below. Send me a DM if you're wanting to book with me. And yeah, thank you all for watching. Love you. Bye bye.